welcome to this evening's presentation of Level Up with Learning Site. Tonight we're focused on these editions of our texts. So we've got EntreCulturas 2025, EntreCultures 2027, and InterKulturell. So if you're using any of those books, then the ones that you see on the screen, your learning site experience is going to be what we are showing and describing tonight. However, if you are using an LMS like Canvas or Schoology, your experience might be a little bit different than what we're showing you. But if you have questions about that, that's totally fine. Let us know, because Amy is the expert with Canvas and Schoology, and she'll be able to help us with that as well. My name is Alexis Bushard. I am a former Spanish teacher, and I actually taught with EntreCulturas before I left the classroom, and now I'm happy to be working with teachers. Amy, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Amy Rill. I'm a former InterKulturell when I was teaching in the classroom. So I'm looking forward to the German teachers who are on today getting a chance to see that. And of course, the Spanish teachers and French teachers being able to see our new editions of our other textbook series. So welcome.
Thank you. And Amy is watching that chat or the question box and is the best producer we've ever had. All right, so we have a couple of questions for you tonight, just so we know who's here watching this presentation. First of all, which language do you teach? There's going to be a poll that pops up, and we would love to hear from you. Oh, almost even. Spanish and French. Okay.
Yep.
No German teachers tonight.
No German teachers. That's okay. They can watch the recording, because this will be recorded, and we will be sending out an email afterwards so that you can rewatch, or you can send to your other colleagues and let them check out all the features and functionality of our textbook series.
All right, thank you. We got one more question for you, and that is, what levels do you teach? Which levels do you teach? I'm going to throw another poll up there for you. Pretty evenly spread between 1, 2, 3, and AP.
All right, I'm going to end the poll.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody. That gives us some context. I will tell you, we are going to focus on level 1 tonight, but we're going to look at all 3 languages, or at least I'm going to try to remember to look at all 3 languages. Again, if you have a question, please throw that in the question box, and we will either type in the answer for you, or Amy will interrupt me and ask the question when applicable. All right.
Yeah, so if you don't see an answer to your question in the chat, it's not that we didn't see it. It's because it may come up later on in the presentation, and Lexi may touch on that when she's doing her demonstration. So it may fit in a different time. So I'm not ignoring you in the chat. We'll answer your questions as they come in.
All right. Thank you so much. When you log into Learning Site, you're going to land on a dashboard very similar to what you're seeing here. And if you teach multiple sections of the same level, then they will all pop up on this class or this dashboard. So for example, if I have 3 periods of Spanish 1, I'll see 3 EntreCulturas 1 classes here. You have a few different options for accessing content from EntreCulturas. You can enter through the Learning Materials tab here, through the eBooks tab. These are going to both take you to activities and resources that you would want to assign. So I'm going to go in through Learning Materials right now. You'll see this table of contents over here on the left. You'll also see the same table of contents over here in the center. You can access content either way. You also have a jump to page feature. So if you're looking at your physical textbook and you say, oh, this content that I'm looking on is on page 270, you can type that in and it will jump directly to the page they were looking at in the physical textbook. I'm going to go back here to my table of contents on the left. So these menus will expand and I can open the different sections of a unit. I like to start with the Encuentro InterKulturell, which is where we're going to meet our country of focus and video blogger for the unit. And I can decide, oh, you know what, we're going to look at that country introduction first. So I would select that and it'll bring up any textbook content here. So this is just like what I'm seeing in the physical print version of the textbook. And then any activities related are going to appear below. These are the same activities that are in the textbook. You just have the option of having students complete them online. So 3 ways, I like to say there's 3 ways to complete these textbook assignments. You could have students look at their textbook, pull out a piece of paper and write it down. You could assign right here in Learning Site so that they could complete it digitally. You could also print this task and create a handout. If you are using an LMS, there's like Canvas or Schoology, there's going to be ways for you to assign for those assignments to appear on that platform. Moving along with our unit here, I can continue to scroll to see the activities. And then I can select next on the bottom of the page to go to the next section. But we're going to jump to our video blogger here because we all like to show videos in our classroom. So here we've got our vlogger for this unit. We can see again the textbook content and some of those previewing activities. Anything like audio, video, or a print authentic resource, you're going to have scaffolded activities to help you share those experiences with your students. So you're going to have a previewing activity to get them thinking about the topic, during viewing activities, and then post-viewing activities. So this is a previewing activity in this case. Then we come to our video here, and I can play directly from the screen. I have several options. If I pop open this 3-dot menu right here, I can turn captions on or off. So I'm going to turn captions on. I can adjust the playback speed so I can make it faster or slower. I'm just going to leave it at normal for now. And then you can also download the transcript or recording. So if you want to take this video and pop it into a slide, you can do that. You can post the video, the downloaded video on the LMS. Just keep in mind that if you do download a video, it will take the captions off. So if you want students to have those target language captions, make sure that they're watching it in Learning Site or you are showing it to them in Learning Site. So let's watch what this looks like from the point of view with the captions on.
Hola, me llamo Fernanda, soy de México y tengo 16 años. Soy una persona alegre, divertida y a veces un poco distraída. Me gustan mucho todos los deportes al aire libre. Me gusta mucho nadar, correr y subir la montaña. Me gustan mucho los animales. En casa.
All right, so that gives you an idea of how easy it is to access that video and then be able to play it for your class as they have their activities open. All right, the next section we're going to come to are the communication sections. So in Spanish, comunicación, in French, communiquons, and in German, wir kommunizieren. When you open that section, you will find a vocabulary section, a grammar section, and a formative assessment. For Spanish, you get that extra vlogger video, so there will be a vlogger in each of those, an additional perspective from them. If I open my vocabulary section here, again, same content that's in the textbook. I've got my vocabulary that's presented in a context. You will also notice in Learning Site that there's an audio clip that accompanies that. So again, you can share this with students so they're getting additional input as they're looking at this content. Right below, you have the activities, and again, they can type their answers into these boxes. And you see as I'm typing, it says Shift Enter. If I select Shift and Enter, then an accent keyboard will pop up. So that's how students can easily add accents to their activities. Let's say that I've decided I'm going to assign this activity. I can go up here to my Actions button and assign. So I'm going to select Assign. If you have multiple classes, you can see I have lots of Spanish 1 classes. I can assign to all of those classes, or I can just assign to one, or I can even pop this open and just assign it to a few of my students. And I've decided only those 2 students are going to do this assignment. Then I have a posting date. When do I want to post that, now or at a later time? I'm going to post it now. I can add additional instructions here, and then I'm going to pick a due date. You don't have to pick a due date, but I highly recommend picking a due date. You can go back and adjust that due date later. So we're going to say it's due next week. Then it's going to ask if you want to exclude from the final grade calculation. Do you want the points or percentage from this assignment to affect their grade in the Learning Site gradebook? Yes, I do. So I'm going to leave it as included. And then down here, it asks if you want to hide student task submission results. So what this is asking is, if a student does a true-false activity, for example, once they're done, they can go back and see which were correct and which were incorrect. If I want them to see that, I'm going to say do not hide. But if I do not want them to see it, then I'm going to select hide, and that way they won't be able to see their answers. So if let's say they got 50% on that true-false activity and I want them to do it again, they can go back and do it again without seeing which ones were correct or incorrect. So I'm going to hide the answers on this one. All right, so now my assignment has been created for my students. Okay, so we have done some, I'm actually going to hop over to French. I want to represent all languages tonight. So in this case, we are in our Comment dit-on vocabulary section. So we've presented this vocabulary, we've done some of these activities that are from the textbook, and now I want students to get some additional practice. So one way I can do that is in my workbook. So if I select learning materials here, I can see that I've got my workbook and a similar table of contents will appear. I can go navigate to that same section, the same Comment dit-on, and I find my vocabulary exercises. So this is additional practice on top of what's already in the textbook for students. So I can assign that. Another option, I'm going to go back to my textbook. If I open that Communicant again, I will see a link to Nualang. And if I select that and then select practice in Nualang, it's going to open Nualang and it'll open right to that Communicant section. So I know I'm getting the same vocabulary and structures from that section are going to be right here in Nualang. Now, if you're thinking, I don't know Nualang that well, I'm not super familiar with it. We just did a webinar on Nualang a couple of weeks ago, and that is available to go back and view. So if you want more information about Nualang, I put Amy on the spot. She's probably furiously trying to find the link for that. She'll put that in the chat and you can go back and watch that webinar about Nualang to get more information and how to make the most of it.
I'm on it.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, so here we are in Nualang, and I can go in and get my extra practice, and it's going to be about those same phrases that were in the textbook. So lots of practice available for that EntreCultures vocabulary section. All right, my next section is grammar. So in Spanish, observa, in French, découvrant, in German, Sprache entdecken. I can go
Good gemacht.
Amy's a German speaker. I am not. Thank you. Okay, so here we've got our grammar section. Again, we are presenting structures in a context. We want to make sure that students are seeing the structures in ways that would actually be used in real life. So they're getting that nice rich input. So here we've got it in these captions here for these images. Again, we've got the audio clip to help students. And then we have some tasks. So there's a question series after the presentation of grammar that's going to ask students to make observations. What do you think is the structure? Why is it being used the way it is? Can you make some observations and make some guesses here? So that's what these questions are asking. Again, they can write them on a piece of paper. They can just talk about them. They can do them here in Learning Site. Lots of options for how you want to access that. And then students will watch the video, and it's going to give them more information, more examples of that structure, and then break it down for them and explain how that works. So again, this video is going to work just like the other one. I can decide if I want captions or not.
Bonjour tout le monde. Today, we will learn about how to talk about quantities of foods and drinks in French. Félix and Océane are having lunch together. Listen carefully as they talk about what they are having.
All right, so we're not going to go through the whole video, but you get the idea that the video for grammar is going to work the same as the vlogger that we saw earlier. Moving on through our unit, we're going to come to that formative assessment. So in Spanish, we've got En Camino. In French, we've got J'avance. And in Spanish, or in German, we have Unterwegs. There's going to be 3 of those per unit. They're going to have tasks in all 3 modes of communication. Once you open this here in Learning Site, you'll see the rubric, the answer key, and then the 3 tasks. So this is our interpretive task. It is first. Now, these are differentiated. You have 3 different versions that you could assign to students based on their level. So one level is going to provide more support, then you'll have an on-target version, and then a more challenging version. So let's say that I've got my 3 versions here and I want to assign different versions to different students. I am going to select those students, and then I'm going to show details and pick a version for the students. So this way they're all getting an appropriate version. And then I'll just go through my regular assigning process. Pick my due date. It's very important to remember. All right, so now that has gone in. I saw that I said this was an interpretive task. It's a presentational task. They are speaking, not watching a video. They're creating the video, not watching the video. So you'll notice with all of the tasks for this assessment, it's going to be the same. They have those 3 options. As the teacher, you can select the different options to see how different they are. So some of them are not going to vary much based on what the task is, but some of them are going to vary a lot. So let's see. This one changes a little bit, but some of them are going to change much more, especially as they go through the series and the content gets more challenging. It'll have a greater difference between the versions. So this is for the online version of the assessment where I'm assigning it in Learning Site and they're going in and completing the task. You can print all assessments. So let's head over to where we can print those. I am actually going to go back to Spanish. And I'm going to select resources. This is a folder that's visible to you and not to students. And there's a folder within resources called assessment program. And there's so many great and helpful things in here. If you have not read the assessment guidelines and you're new to giving these type of assessments, I highly recommend you peruse that document. The In Camino folder, so these are the formative assessments. If you open up a unit, you will see that there's a printable version of the assessment and then the answer key. So these are the formatives. The printable version is going to have the 3 differentiated versions in there. They'll be labeled. So this one says Novice Mid. This one says Novice High. And then Intermediate Low. So that's how you're going to know printed version, which one is which, and how to decide which one to give to students. Okay, so that's the In Camino or the formative assessment folder. I'm going to jump ahead and show you the summative assessment folder since we're here in the resources assessment program folder. Here's where you'll find printable assessments, answers, rubrics, because there's rubrics written specifically for those summative assessments, and then sample answers. I really like this a lot because if you're not used to giving these types of assessments, or if students aren't used to taking these types of assessments, it can be a little daunting to say like, oh, I don't know what to expect. You know, my students are used to getting a totally different type of assessment. These sample answers give you an idea of what's appropriate and an appropriate expectation for your students based on their level. So here, students are having a simulated conversation where the computer's asking them questions and they're giving answers. This is a level 1 class, unit 4. And so here it shows you a novice mid student might answer with this. A novice high student might answer with this. An intermediate low student might answer with this. And it includes some errors in there. And I think as a teacher, that makes me feel better because a novice mid student is not supposed to be speaking perfect Spanish, right? They're going to make errors. So it makes me feel better thinking, okay, if my students can do this, we're on the right track. After I give this assessment, I might show this to students and talk about it with them and say, how do your answers differ from what you're seeing here? And how could these answers be better? And you gave a novice mid response this time. What can we do to make your responses novice high next time? This is a great conversation piece to have with students and to show them some examples. So again, that is in your assessment folder under sample answers. In this folder,
I have a question.
Yes.
There was a question about assigning, since we're in assessments and a lot of the assessments go together in there are multiple tasks. How do you assign multiple activities at one time? Can you demonstrate that for us?
Yes. Before I get there, I'm just going to finish this and then I'll go there.
Oh,
So
okay.
thank you for
Of
the
course.
question.
Sure.
No, you're totally good. Thank you. Okay. The other things I wanted to point out, you have a midterm and final assessment folder here. These are pieces of assessment, so you can pull those pieces and make different assessments. So be sure to check that out. And then alternate objective tests. These are auto-graded multiple choice assessments on the unit content. So if you're looking for an alternate test for a variety of reasons, be sure to check out that folder. All right, now to the question of how can I assign multiple things at once? There's two ways to do it. So I'm going to go to this in Camino here where I've got multiple tasks. I could just go through and assign all of these individually if I wanted to, and just go through that process and say that they're all due on the same day, for example. The other thing I could do is if I go to my assignments tab up here and go to add assignments, I can select the book that I'm in, select my unit. I know we're in, let's do this comunicación and the in Camino. So I've gotten to my folder. I can select all of these. So I know there's 3 tasks, boom, boom, boom. Let's say I also want students to reflect on those can-do statements, because that's another thing that they can do with these formatives. So I'm going to select those can-do statements. Next step, due date, all these questions, and then assign. And then boom, I've assigned all of those things at one time. So that's an easy way to, if you know exactly what you're going to include in that, select them all and assign them all at once.
And then if you go back in later on, if you decide that you want a different part on a different day, you can go into each one of those individual assignments and then change those due dates as needed. But otherwise, if you put them all in, if you assign them at the same time, they will all be assigned with that same due date. So if you want you want to assign them all at once, you can do that and then change the due date inside this page where we're at now.
Yeah, so if I decide, oh, you know what, we're not going to get to this, select it, edit, and then change my due date here to the next week, and then updated. Yep. Well, since I'm in assignments right now, I might as well stay here. The assignments tab is going to show you your list of assignments. It will show up as a list view, but you can toggle to a calendar view. Students, it's the opposite. It'll show up for them as a calendar view, and they can toggle to a list view. In the calendar view, assignments will appear on the date that they're due. Here is where you can review your assignment details and edit. So I just edited that due date. You can also select the title here. If you're like, hey, I don't remember what this assignment is, you can select that and it'll take you to the assignment. Here's a screen that I really like. This down here will show you which students have submitted and not submitted. It won't show you grades. So for example, if I say everybody needs to have this assignment done by the end of class, at the end of class, I can open this window right here and see very quickly who's completed it and who hasn't without sharing any grading data. And to access this, you just select the line where the assignment is. A couple more buttons here at the top. You can export this list, archive. Let's say this list has gotten really long and we finished everything from unit 1. So I'm just going to archive, select all the assignments from that unit, and then archive selected, and then it'll remove it from this list, but it'll save under archive. If you select remove, it's going to remove any data. So I would be hesitant to remove something unless you assigned it by accident. And then add assignment, we just looked at that. So it's going to pull up everything that you have for this class, and then it's going to ask you the unit. Now up here at the top, you've got standard pathway. That's going to have every single activity. You can also select can do pathway. This will select activities that are associated with the can do statements. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm not going to get to all of this content, how do I know the most important activities to do? You could select this and it'll specify those for you. And then just select wherever you're at. And then you can quickly and easily select multiple things to assign. All right, so that was our assignments tab. We were in learning materials and we saw how to use the table of contents to navigate to a different section. Now we're going to look at ebooks, but I'm going to go to German because we haven't looked at German yet. So I'm going to select an ebook. I've got an option of the student edition or the teacher edition. I'm actually going to start with the teacher edition. Something that I love about our newest editions are these page wraps around the outside with suggestions for teachers. So if you have the print edition of the teacher material, you'll see this when you open it up. And then if you're in your ebook, you want to go to the teacher edition. Every page is going to have tons of suggestions for you. They'll have answers for activities. They'll have ideas for how to present vocabulary and grammar. Down here at the bottom, they'll have ideas for scaffolding and differentiating, suggestions for heritage speakers. And the bottom will change based on what's being suggested. So here's a culture note, AP strategies. There's just all kinds of great, useful things in there for teachers. So with this ebook, I can use my table of contents to navigate to different sections. I can also enter a page number down here. And something else that's really nice is I can actually print. So let's go to a vocab summary, zusammengefasst. And I'm going to select the print icon down here and I can print this page. I can also do it from the student edition if I don't want those teacher notes around the outside to give that to a student. All right, let's go to the student ebook. This is great if you are showing students what they're going to be doing. If you want to put up a picture on your projector and talk about it with your class, you can do it from here. It's basically the student book in a digital version. You can make them full screen. You can zoom in, zoom out. And with the student edition, you can select any of the activity titles and it'll pop the activity open over here on the right. So let's say that I was talking about this page with my class and I think, oh, I want to see what this activity looks like in Learning Site. You could select that, look at this activity, and then, you know, have your students do it right there. Or you could say, you know what, I'm going to assign this for them to do later. Click Actions and then Assign, and then go through your assigning process. This is a really nice view to have textbook page next to activity if that's how you want to access all the content. And again, that's in ebooks. You'll notice that whenever you're in a class, all of the ebooks for that class will be displayed. So you'll notice for InterKulturell, it's got a different list of ebooks than EntreCulturas does, for example. All right, let's head to grades. You'll notice on the dashboard here, there is a grades summary. We call this the metrics overview. If you don't want this on, you can turn it off. This will give me an idea of how my students are doing overall. I've got assignments to review, assignments overdue, and then what's upcoming. I can also pop this open and see any activities that are due soon on whichever day. I can also add assignments from here. So earlier when we were talking about how can we add multiple assignments at once, you can select that from here too. Within grades, when I open my grade book here, anything that's auto-graded will populate the grade automatically. So that's going to be fill in the blanks, multiple choice, matching, put in order, those kind of things. Anything that I need to go in and grade will have this blue dot. To grade, just select the box and it'll open the content for you to grade. In this case, I have a video. So let's start grading this video. A mí me gusta mucho la comida mexicana. I can select add comment at any point in this video and add a comment. It is going to timestamp that comment for the student. So this student will know that at 4 seconds, I left that comment for them. Hay muchos restaurantes mexicanos aquí en mi comunidad. If I select add recording, it lets me record an audio or video comment and also timestamp that. So if I want to go back and correct pronunciation or maybe show them a different way they could have said that, I can use this add recording button. When I'm done listening to their video, up here at the top, I'm going to edit their grade. My gradebook is set to points. We'll talk about that in a minute. And let's say I'm going to give this student 10 points. I can add a proficiency rating. That student's doing very well. And then I can add additional feedback. So here I can type my comments, but I can also leave an audio or video here if I want to leave feedback and not have to do all the typing for all the feedback. So that's done, graded. Then I can come up here to the top, navigate to my next student, or I can use my arrows to go back and forth. That was a video or audio comment. Written comments. Here, this student has answered writing down here at the bottom. I can highlight their writing, color code it somehow if I want, and then leave a comment here. When students go back in, they can select the highlighted part and view the comment that I left. Again, grading up here using these tools, give points, performance rating, and then teacher feedback. Something that you may have noticed that's been new in the last couple of weeks is this filter option here at the top. So before it was one menu and now it's spread across, so the filters are more open. Here we can filter by section. So which book do I want to see? Which due dates? This is really nice because if you've assigned a bunch of stuff in a 2-week period and you don't want to look at all your assignments, you can just narrow it down. Review status, submission. So you've got all of these options up here. Now my gradebook is set to points. So there's a running point total of completed activities, and then it's giving me a percentage based on the points complete. If your gradebook is set to percentages, it's just going to show you total percentage. It's not going to show you the point total. I can export this grade book if I need to. I can also select a specific student and see just the work that that student has done, and then I can export this too. So if I have to create a report for a parent or something like that, I can use this. All right, assignments, we looked at that already. Let's go over here to more. If I select students, these are going to be my students in my class. Settings. This is something that you do need to make a note to change for each class if you adjust settings individually. So here are my media settings. Do I want students to be able to access transcripts and subtitles on their own? Currently they're disabled, but you can enable them. You can also just enable them for 1 or 2 students. So let's say, you know, this student has an accommodation that I always allow them to have transcripts or captions. I can enable for that 1 student. Max task attempts. Every task has 3 attempts. That's a universal setting. If you want to change it so students have less attempts, you can change the universal setting here. You can also change the settings for individual assignments. Total grade. So this is where I change my gradebook to points. When you do adjust your gradebook to points, you need to set a default point value. And that's what I did here below. Everything's out of 10 points. I can adjust settings for individual assignments and change the point value there. Show hide content. This is my next tab under settings. This is determining what students are able to see in their learning site accounts. Resources are hidden. It is unchecked. You probably have automatically have your formative assessments hidden. I went back in and I shared everything, so that's why I need to adjust that. So I just unchecked my formative assessments. So now students can't see my formative assessments unless I unhide them and assign. So I need to make sure to come back here and unhide and assign. Anything with this line like this means that some content is shown to students and some content is hidden. So if you want students to have access to everything, you can leave as is. Again, your assessments are probably hidden automatically, so you don't have to worry about that. I went through and I clicked this up here, so I hit everything and then reshared it. So it reshared everything with them. So that's why mine looks a little bit different. Even if you hide content, it'll still show up in the ebook, not the activities, but the textbook content itself. The other button up here at the top is Newellang. This is just another way for you to access Newellang. You can also access Newellang here under Teacher Resource or under the Learning Materials dropdown. All right, how are we doing, Amy? We have any more questions?
I have a question about the information about accommodations. If you could repeat whatever you were saying about accommodations.
Yes, so I probably said that when I was talking about settings.
I think so.
Yeah, so here where it says transcripts available for students, this is for audio video, and subtitles available for students. So I have that disabled so students can't turn on their own subtitles. But if let's say this student has an accommodation that she needs subtitles for everything, I can make sure that one student has her settings to enable so she can always access the subtitles. Good question.
Yes, and I'm trying to think, we are pretty caught up on everything. We had a question about settings before, about being able to adjust those settings. And what was mentioned with the settings pages on the global settings. Did you go into detail on the individual task settings?
That's where I was headed next.
Wonderful. See, we're all on the same page.
We're reading each other's minds.
Yes, like usual.
All right, I'm going to go into a communication section here. And we did not look at all of these actions under the Actions tab. So here's where I can assign to students. I just picked a random task out of my textbook. I can assign from here. I can hide this. So if I don't want students to see it, I don't have to go through that whole show hide menu that I just showed you. I could just hide this assignment right here if I want to. Grades, print, if you want to print any of the activities, you can do that here. Preview task, this is going to show me the teacher view. So if I want to see the answers, if there's answers involved, I can select that. And then share. Share will let you create a post on Google Classroom. So if you use Google Classroom and you want to connect your learning site with your Google Classroom, you would just select create post, and then you'll log into Google Classroom. I mean, this is barring any type of other types of integration, so take this with a grain of salt. But one way to do it is to select this, connect your Google Classroom, and then it's always connected, so you can automatically create posts from here. You can also snag this link down here and share this link anywhere. Students just need to be logged into Learning Site, and then if they select this link, they'll be taken straight to that activity. Settings. These are the same settings we were looking at before, but for just this activity. So right now I have 3 attempts on this activity. Let's say I want to treat this like a quiz. So I'm going to make sure that students only have 1 attempt. They can only try it 1 time. And instead of being worth 10 points, I'm going to make it worth 25 points. And then maybe I'll grade accents today. I don't know. But then I'm going to save that. So these settings now are just for that particular assignment. So that's how you can change settings for the assignment. And if you have your gradebook set to points like I do, that is one way you can weight assignments, is by adjusting that point value for the different assignments. Good question.
Okay, and we have another one. This is more about content rather than functionality. So we have a question that says, are the unit titles the same for all 3 languages? Have you heard of other teachers from all 3 languages collaborating? So I know that those thematic units are very similar, but in your experience, knowing that you've worked with a lot of districts where they may have needed this, what has happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the themes are similar, but not exactly the same. So what I will say, though, is that every unit will have, let's go to German because we haven't looked at German a whole lot. Every chapter or unit is going to have the same type of structure. So it's going to have that cultural opener, 3 communication sections, this global community section, and then your summative assessment. So every unit across the 3 languages is going to be set up like that. So if you wanted to somehow align across languages and say like, okay, we're all going to spend 2 weeks on this communication section and give our assessment around this time, you could absolutely do that. Is your theme going to line up perfectly? Maybe, maybe not. But you could at least, I'm just thinking of like your grade book. If you all wanted to have so many formative assessments per quarter and so many summative assessments per quarter, I think this structure, because it's so similar, would allow you to align in that way, if that makes sense. I don't know if Amy has anything else to add to that.
I think that was a wonderful answer.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right, well,
Let's see. Yeah, I think I think that's most of the questions we have. Oh, hold on. There's another one. Okay, oh, that's something else. I can answer that one privately.
Okay. All right.
We do have a lot of questions that about where you have instructions to like how do you change the settings, or how do you assign something. So that we do have resources, and I know Lexi's going to get to that in a minute. I did put an image in the shared materials. There is a file that you can download that has a picture of the help menu, can do, and all of that. So
yes,
let Lexi go into that next.
Down in the bottom right corner, we have our friend Can Do, and Can Do has lots of resources for you. So if you're in Learning Site, you can select Can Do and find the list. This bottom one here, product training, that's the e-course that will help you learn how to use textbook and Learning Site. And then we've got instructional tours, user guides, all kinds of things right here. Over here on the left side, and the bottom left, we have this help menu. So this will link you to our YouTube page where we have some tutorials, the guides. You'll also be able to reach out to support. If you access those things, you still can't figure it out, you can reach out anytime. We have this share your feedback button. That's really great also. All right, in this left-hand menu, since I'm over here right now, we started with classes. This is where all your classes are listed. You can reach your ebooks through these tabs here in your class, but you could also go through library to find ebooks. Honestly, I think this ebook is your best bet, because if you're going to select the ebook and want to assign out of there, you're going to want to do it for that particular class. Codes, you shouldn't have to worry about that unless you've been explicitly told to worry about that. Meaning most teachers that use our products are rostered, where your district gives us your class list and then we build all of your classes for you. If you are using codes, you have probably been notified that here's your codes and here's how you use your codes. So if you have not been told that you're using codes, you don't need to worry about that. Portfolio, this is where when students reflect on those can-do statements, it's going to be stored in this portfolio along with their evidence. As the teacher, you can assign these can-do statements. There's an option up here on the top to add assignments. You can do that from the other add assignment places to add these can-do statements. When students update those can-do statements, you can access what they put in there. So they rated themselves on a scale of 3, and then they can attach evidence. In this case, the student just wrote evidence, but they can attach an activity, they can add audio or video recording, they can write longer pieces. There's lots of ways. And then you can go in and leave little emojis on things and add comments if you want. Learning tools. The first one is the Instructional Strategies Toolkit. This is a bank of over 200 teaching ideas. Many are things that you've seen at conferences or workshops. They're just in general great teaching practices. You can use the menu over here on the side to filter down. So let's say I'm doing an interpretive task with my novice students. It's going to give me 106 ideas for how to do that. And if I select an activity, it'll give me a description of how to do this. I found this super helpful. just because, again, it's stuff that many of us have seen already. It's just nice to have it organized and categorized in one place. Professional Learning is going to link you to our Professional Learning page where you can find more webinars like this and past webinars. And then the lesson plan generator can help you put activities from Learning Site into a document, a list of activities into a document. You have your profile page, notifications. This tells you if a student has submitted something. And then what's new is going to let you know when we update Learning Site and what kinds of changes we've made. All right, Amy, let me know if we have anything else here.
The only other question that I saw in here was, will this recording be available? And yes, it will be available. A follow-up email will be coming shortly. I don't know exactly how many days, but it'll be coming, including a recap of tonight and a recording that you can rewatch or share with other colleagues if you want them to see this. So yes, this is recorded. And I think, let's see, we have some questions about codes, using codes and switching to rostering. If you're interested in that, I also added in the chat some information about contacting your account manager. So anything that has to do with what titles you have, getting in touch with an instructional strategist if you have questions about the difference between first edition and second edition, any of those, please get in touch with your account manager, and then they can put you in touch with the right people who can help you with whatever area you need help with.
All right. Well, if you have any more questions, keep putting them in there. I'm going to show you some of our links that Amy's also going to be putting in the chat. We would love your feedback. Your feedback makes our webinars better. So if you could take a moment and let us know what you think, you can scan the QR code or select the link that Amy is putting in the chat. And then you get a certificate of participation showing that you did 1 hour of professional development tonight. So to fill out the form for that, go to this link that Amy's also going to put in the chat. You're going to fill out the form, and then we will email you a certificate. Please allow 24 hours for that certificate to be mailed to you. We have another webinar coming up on March 2nd. This is about the student experience with Learning Site. So if you're curious about what students see and do in Learning Site from their end, please join us for that webinar. We will also record that one too. So register, and then we'll let you know what happened if you're not able to attend. But we hope you can attend, because then you can ask questions. Thanks again for joining us. If you have any more questions, just let us know. But otherwise, thanks for being here and have a great night.